Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm excited to talk to you today about, let's see, I'm having a little, my computer's a little slow. Operation Use Your Funds, making the use of your education award. My name is Tamara Brown. I'm the principal consultant with Partnership People. I'm based out of Delaware. Professionally and throughout my career, I've done a lot of work with national service, and typically during this time, we are meeting in person to talk about all things related to Life After AmeriCorps. But I'm really excited to be talking to you today about something that I love talking about because it relates to the benefits of service, and that is using your funds. So we are going to get started. This session is being recorded so that we can, folks can be able to view it on YouTube after it's done. So just wanted to keep that in mind if you have any questions. So we have a small group. So I'm gonna skip introductions, but and especially since this is gonna be online. But if you have access to the chat, I'd love to take a minute. If the folks who are attending can tell me if they are AmeriCorps members, employees, alums, guests, or folks that are interested in AmeriCorps just generally. So what role do you play? Take a moment and put it in the chat. All right, so I see that we have a few AmeriCorps alums. What else? Do we have any current members? No, no alum. Great. All right. So everyone here is now an AmeriCorps member or an AmeriCorps alum. So you all will have access to this great benefit of the Education Award. So we have a few objectives today that I'm gonna go through pretty like globally, and then if you all have questions, we'll have some time at the end. But here are our objectives. So we're gonna talk a little bit about some data on the Education Award, and like why data, like the session is about, you know, how do I use my award? What are some ways to maximize it? But the data actually speaks to why that this is so important. So we'll just highlight a little bit of data. You're gonna learn more about your Education Award. I'm gonna share some ideas for you to begin to set goals for using your Education Award. And then we're gonna set up structures to help you, use your Education Award. You're gonna learn how to set up structures to do so. And again, given that this is virtually, some parts of these objectives will be abbreviated. So again, if you have questions, just feel free to jot them down or put them in the chat, and I'll ask them at the end of the call. So what does the data tell us about Education Awards? So promise not to bore you here, but very interesting stuff. So on average, 18.7% of education awards in 2019 went unused. And I just sit here and think about, like, wow, like who leaves money on the table? Like, that is, we don't want that to happen. You work so hard, you should be able to use your earned Education Award money. So the purpose of this session is to give you the tools that you need so that you can not be one of these people that leave the money on the table. And what we know about AmeriCorps programs is that there's definitely this underpinning of service, and that's the reason why folks are attracted to national service, right? But a good portion of people also agree that the Education Award motivated them to join AmeriCorps. So it's definitely a benefit. And if you ask, folks across the sample, like what they plan to do with their award, they want to repay loans, and they want to use the Education Award to attend or graduate college. So if we look at the type of alumni that are most likely to spend their Education Award, they've served in a full-time position. So they've been in a full-time AmeriCorps position. They started service between the ages of 21 and 29. And for their education, they have at least a college degree. And so that's the profile of folks that most likely use their Education Award. What I'm here to say is that all this information is good, but what matters is that, our big goal today is that every Delaware alumni AmeriCorps alumni member spends their hard-earned education award. So whether or not you fit this profile, or like you currently have plans for your education award, or you don't know, we want to make sure that you have the tools that you need to actually. So a little bit about your education award, depending on what type of program you're in, and whether you're serving full-time or half-time or anything less than that, the amount ranges from $1,300 to $6,000. And what is the Education Award? So the Education Award is a post-service benefit earned by individuals who complete an approved term of national service. And it may be used to pay for a lot of different things, such as educational expenses at eligible post-secondary institutions, including many technical colleges and GI Bill approved programs, or to repay qualified student loans. So I want to pause for a second because I want to talk about this GI approved. There are a list of programs that are not necessarily technically institutes of higher education, but they are training programs that are eligible via the GI Bill to provide services to veterans. So if you're a veteran and you see one of these like training programs that's not necessarily an institute of higher education, you can use your education award to pay for that. So that's a little bit of research. CNCS has a list of some of those approved programs on their website, but I don't want to gloss over that, because for some people it's like, I know what it is, and for other folks it's like, what actually is it? So how can you use your education award? So there's two main ways that you can use your education award. So one, you can use it to repay qualified student loans. So all that debt that you've accumulated, and I say all the debt, hopefully you have not accumulated much debt, the debt that you've accumulated, from potentially being in taking college courses or whatever you did before you came to AmeriCorps, you can use that. And so any loan that's backed by the federal government, except for the PLUS loan to parents of students, can be used to pay qualified student loans. Any loans that were made under the Public Service Health Act. So if you're in that sector, here are some examples of what those loans are. And any loans made by a state agency, including some state institutes of higher education. And you would need to contact your state agency, your state or state institute of higher education to see if the loans that were made by them were covered under AmeriCorps. So pretty expansive. Unfortunately, you can't use the education award to pay for private loans like Sallie Mae, but there are some options here for you. You can also use your education award to pay for future educational expenses. So if you choose to go to college or take credit somewhere, you can use your education award to pay for the cost of attendance for a degree program, for tuition, room, and books, or you can use it for educational expenses for non-degree courses. So here's some fun facts about the education award. So one, that it's good for 7 years, but it can be extended under special circumstances. And I think I have a question in the chat. Okay, Michelle, see your question. I will respond to that after. So it is good for 7 years and can be extended in special circumstances. So if you, this is the one thing that I like to tell people who actually is a tool to get people to join AmeriCorps, that sometimes we don't know, what's going to happen a year after service, or we don't have any immediate plans. But 7 years is a long runway to use your education award. And so just to have that in your back pocket to help you make some life decisions is an amazing opportunity. Some of the special circumstances in which you can extend your education award are if you have, fallen ill during a period of time, and it was just a time where you absolutely could not use your education award. CNCS has ways in which you can ask for an extension that are available on the website. If you're over 55 at the time of service, you can transfer your education award to your child, grandchild, or foster child. So also a good benefit of your service if you don't choose, to do anything, to be able to pass it down to someone else to use it. Some education institutions match the education award. We call them AmeriSchools. And these are schools that match the education award at a certain amount. Some of them it's a dollar for dollar match. Some of them they match a portion. And then if you're part of the AmeriCorps Vista program, which I don't think we have anyone that is part of the AmeriCorps Vista program, but the Vista program is a special designation in AmeriCorps, a special type of program. So if you've never heard of the word Vista, then you're not a Vista. But these programs can actually exchange their education award for a cash stipend that is less than the full amount, but it gives them the flexibility to use their education award in different ways. The education award is subject to taxes, and the education award is paid directly to your lender. So it's important to note that as you're thinking about planning your education award, that it is subject to taxes and it's paid directly to your lender. All right. So let's talk about how you use your education award. Or how you actually like get started in digging into how to access it. So all of everything that you need for your education award is available on the My AmeriCorps portal. And the My AmeriCorps portal, which is not always quite intuitive, allows you to do a lot of things related to all the things related to your service. By this point, you should be very familiar with the My AmeriCorps portal. So just as a flag that as you're thinking about like how to use this, how to check your award balance, how to request payments to educational institutions, how to update your contact information, all those things, you can go to your My AmeriCorps portal to do so. So I'm not going to have you all do this virtually, but I do want to take a minute for you to take some notes here. Anytime I do a session in person, I like to do some things that are really active. So, not just talking to people, but getting them to take an action that is going to further get them closer to, whatever their goal is. So what I want to do is just give you 30 seconds, not a long time, just to make sure that you can go to myamericorps.gov and try logging in. And if you can't log in because like you don't know your password or something like that, I just want you to make a note and put a task in your calendar to say that I could not log in. I need to figure out how to do this and revisit it later on today. So take 30 seconds, try going to myamericorps.gov and try logging in. Okay, so if you had trouble logging in, which I will say is like usually one of the biggest challenges that I get from AmeriCorps alumni. In my course of working with national service, I have been the project director of over, oh goodness, I'd say at least 6,000 AmeriCorps members in my career. And every time we have like an issue with alumni support, it has typically been because they cannot access the My AmeriCorps account. And the reason why is because the password to get into the system is really complicated. It has to be 12 characters. It has to have an uppercase letter, lowercase letter, a symbol. You have to jump up and down 3 times and rub your belly in order for it to work. So the reason why I like to make sure that folks are taking the time to do this is so that, if there is a challenge, you can get yourself in queue to have a password reset or contact the National Service Hotline to make sure you don't run into any issues accessing your AmeriCorps. So what are some ways that you can use your AmeriCorps award? So I talked about some of these, but we're going to go through some very direct examples and then like some unique examples that you can think about. And so when I say very direct, we know the basics, right? We know that we can use our education award to pay for past student debt, and we can use it to pay it for future educational expenses. But let's dig a little bit deeper and like how this has been done in action in some unique ways. So first of all, I talked about this earlier, but I just want to reiterate that if you're considering, like changing your career or furthering your education or whatever, definitely consider looking at the schools that match the AmeriCorps program. We're talking about a double benefit there in this virtual world and the way that things have been changing. And being a person who works in education, I can tell you that I would not be surprised if many of our, both K through 12 and university courses are going to have a wider range of virtual course options opening up. And so that presents an opportunity for you to potentially attend one of these schools virtually, right? And have your education award maximized. So again, CNCS has a list there. I'd say definitely keep your options open, but if you want to, maximize your education award, consider going to one of these schools that match the award. And then, think outside the box. So one of the things that I love to talk about, when it comes to using the education award for your benefit is that it does not have to be for a degree granting program. You don't have to use your education award to get a master's degree or to get a bachelor's degree or to do something degree granting. Perhaps you're interested in doing something for pleasure, or you want to learn a new skill or something that is going to help enhance, who you are as a person, like photography, welding, crafting, like something that is just about you and like your talent and things that you want to do. So I want to give an example, and this is a true example. This is not a true picture of what happened, but this is a true example. So I met some teachers in New Orleans that I was working with as part of one of the AmeriCorps programs that I was training, and I was doing an opening session about like just the overall, like what AmeriCorps is. And we talked about some ways in which they happened to be alumni. So they had served one term in another AmeriCorps program, but they were on their second term with a new organization, which was the organization that I was working with. And so the two people came together. They actually got married in AmeriCorps, and they decided that they wanted to use their funds to take classes on carpentry and how to build things. So they enrolled in a technical school, used their educational award for that. And their goal was to convert a school bus into a living house. So they had already had the school bus. They'd already started, like when the time in which I came into this process, they were like building it. So like this was actually happening. And now I'm like wondering, what that actually ended up looking like. But like they wanted to use their AmeriCorps award to do something that was different from their actual career, which their career was teaching, to do something that felt personal to them, to gain a skill, which was learning how to build. And then they used it to convert a school bus into a mobile tiny home. I thought it was pretty amazing. Nothing that I think that I would do, but I mean, like, how cool is it that you could leverage your AmeriCorps award in that way? And so as you're dreaming, as you're thinking about your goals and all the things that you want to do, think about some out-of-box ways that you can use your education award. So if you had an opportunity, or if you do have the opportunity to tune into the other session that I do, which is on goals and networking, this framework you, because it's something that I talk about when I'm helping people think through their like personal and professional goals. And so as this relates to the AmeriCorps award, it's very all interconnected, right? So you have some resources, which are these funds. And then you want to think about how you want to use those funds for your benefit, right? Like, what is your goal? How do you want to leverage those funds? And so again, we talked about the direct ways of doing it, right? And then I gave you an example of how we've seen this play out in the personal sense. And so as you think about like planning your own journey with your education award, allow yourself to imagine what is possible with the award. So here are some questions for you to consider, and allow you to start thinking about like how you want to put that framework into action, so that you can use your AmeriCorps award in a way that feels right for you. So I'm going to talk to you. The last thing that I want to cover before I take any questions are resources and next steps. So one, I want to make sure that you can access your AmeriCorps award and all those great things. So don't forget your homework, which is to go to myamericorps.gov and to make sure that you can log in. If you want to learn more details about your education award, matching programs, GI Bill programs, visit nationalservice.gov. So I had a chat, a question in the chat about some of the GI Bill approved programs. I can definitely look for that after the call and send them to Volunteer Delaware to make sure that you have a list. But I will say, like, if you want to look up something more immediately, I would just search for it for on nationalservice.gov and type for GI Bill approved programs. The last thing that I want to leave you with is make sure that you're setting your goals and creating a plan for using your education award. So again, remember, it's good for 7 years. If you're over 55 years old, you can transfer it. There are many schools that match the education award. So there are a lot of different creative ways that you can think about this. You know, maybe right now you're also thinking like, there's so many things going on, I can't even think about like what the next step is, or like when I would actually think about using this education award. And that's fine. But what you should still think about is like, when are you going to revisit the conversation? So even if you're not thinking about it this month, maybe you make a note for yourself or put it on your calendar now that like a year from now, or on New Year's resolution, or on your birthday, anytime that you're typically like thinking like what your next step is, making a note that you have the education award and that you need to use it, so that you're not one of these, the 18.7% of people whose education award goes unused. And then lastly, I want to just leave you with this. Spend your money like it is yours. You earned it. You know, this is a thank you for the amazing work that you do for national service, for your community, for your country, for your citizens. And you earned it, so you deserve it. So make sure that you spend it. And that's all for today. The session is being recorded, but I'm happy to take any questions that you all have.
And so is there a way to contact you in case we have questions that?
So I can definitely provide my contact information. I will say for the education award is one of those things that is very squarely managed by CNCS. So I would always say like start with myamericorps.gov first, because like there's usually nuances within like, you know, like your type of service, when your program ends, things that I just don't necessarily have access to. But if you have like any like questions, you know, after you've done that, or anything that I can answer, I'm definitely happy to do so. And I'll drop my email in the chat for everyone.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all so much. I hope that this was helpful information for you. Like I said, this will be made available online, so you'll have access to all this entire presentation. But have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.